Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Nikita, and on this channel we have a focus on being inclusive with our reading, especially focusing on BIPOC and South Asian stories in real life as well as in literature. So you can expect a lot of book chats, book recommendations, as well as my podcast called Brown People Problems. So for today, I wanted to do my own version of this mid-year book freakout tag that's been going around. There is a number of prompts here that are part of this tag, and I will include all of those prompts in the description below. Alright, so far this year I have read about 70 books. We are at the end of June. I've read about 70 books. A lot of them, well, some of them also include some nonfiction, academic reading that I have to do, part of my day job. However, I'm going to say that 95% of the books that I have read this year are fiction. So let's talk about them now. All right, so question number 1 on this tag is the best book you have read this year so far. And I am so happy to say that I have read a number of 5-star books this year, actually, and I'm so happy with how that's going. But the one that really takes the cake for me is this one, The Brilliant Life of Eudora Honeysett by Annie Lyons. You've probably heard me talk about this already, but this is such a lovely book, one that I've seen, but I had never picked up because I just didn't think I would like it. But if you haven't read this, you should. I'm recommending this to everyone in my life. This was definitely an unexpected one, but it's basically a story about this elderly woman, Eudora Honeysett, who has decided that, whatever, she's done with life and she wants to end her life on her own terms. But a new family ends up moving in next door, and they have a 10-year-old daughter, Rose. And the book really follows this really lovely relationship that forms between Eudora and Rose, who are really such polar opposites, and how it gives Eudora almost like a renewed joy of life again. And this was lovely. All right, next up we have the best sequel that I have read so far, and that's definitely got to be The Late Mrs. Willoughby by Claudia Gray. Now, this is a sequel to The Death of Mr. Wickham by Claudia Gray, and if you haven't heard of this is an incredible series. I don't know what the next one this is called. We'll probably have to wait another year or so for it, but if you like Agatha Christie and if you like any of your Jane Austens, you're really going to enjoy this series. So what essentially this series is, it's a whole world of Jane Austen. So all the characters from all the books, you've got Pride and Prejudice and Emma and Sense and Sensibility, and essentially they all kind of know one another and they all interact with one another. But the first book, which is The Death of Mr. Wickham, is basically this house party that I believe Emma Knightley is throwing, and our main characters are Jonathan Darcy, who is Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy's son, and then you've got Miss Juliet Tilney, who is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Tilney from, I believe, Northanger Abbey, and they come together and they solve the murder of Mr. Wickham. In this one, the Mrs. Willoughby dies, who's a wife of Mr. Willoughby. I believe he's a villain from one of the Jane Austens, but it really seems like this author is like taking out all these villains from all these different Austen novels one by one, and it's actually incredible. The mystery is on point. The historical accuracy of being set in the Regency era is on point. It's very much got the intrigue of an Agatha Christie book, and it's written like an Austen novel. So it definitely takes some time to get through because of the older English and whatnot, but it is such perfection, this book. All right, the next question is a new release that you haven't read yet, but want to. So I'm going to cheat on this question a little bit, and I'm going to include 2 books that are actually coming out in a couple weeks. So they are new releases, they're almost out. But the first one is the 4th book in the series of Widows of Malabar Hill, and that one is called The Mistress in Patia House by Sujata Massey. If you've been on this channel for some time, you've heard me rave about this series. I absolutely love this protagonist and this series. But that book is coming out, I believe, on July 11th. I think that's a Tuesday when a lot of new releases are coming out, so I'm looking forward to that. And another book that's coming out the same day is A Lady's Guide to Scandal by Sophie Irwin. This is a sequel to A Lady's Guide to Murder, which is this like Regency era, really kind of like lighthearted rom-com. And I remember really, really enjoying the first one. I'm not sure if the characters are the same from the first one. The first one is essentially about this character, and I'm forgetting her name now. It's been a while since I read that book, but she's essentially, fortune hunting. Or no, sorry, the book was called A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. And she is, looking to secure her means and her way of life as, the only type of power really that women had at that time. If they were born in aristocratic families, was to just find someone and secure a future for themselves. So she is unabashedly just fortune hunting, and that's what she wants, and it's an unlikely romance that happens, and it's a really lovely book. And this one is called A Lady's Guide to Scandal, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this one is going to be about. All right, question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. To be honest, I don't know that many releases coming out August and onwards, so Mistress of Bhatia House is still gonna be my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Biggest disappointment. Gosh, I really hate to say this, but my biggest disappointment this year was Morwood Family Rules by Helen K. Demon. But I was so excited for this book. I got it the day that it came out, but this book was such a letdown. It's marketed as a Knives Out type of like a fast-paced thriller and family drama and family drama, and it wasn't really any of that. It's just family drama. It was very slow-paced. There's nothing really that happens, but essentially it's about our main character, Gillian Morwood, who comes from this like family of con artists, and the book starts off with her returning from prison with now this idea in her mind to convert her family into like do-gooders and to quit their conning ways. And it spans like 5 days, I believe, or like 6 days or whatever. But unfortunately, this like just did not do it for me whatsoever. The characters were not complex. They were not lovable. And the story just lacked any type of like depth or movement, and there was nothing exciting or action oriented happening. So unfortunately, this was not fun for me. All right, biggest surprise. So I have 2 books for this, and both of those were genuinely like really big surprises for me. And I'm just going to share both of those with you. So the first big surprise for me was Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This was a surprise to me because I had never read up until this point, because since then I have read Eudora Honeysett, but I never really read about a protagonist, a main character being an elderly woman. And that type of like character is one maybe that isn't super present in like the world of fiction, but I really enjoyed this. I gave this 5 stars. I believe this was my first 5 stars of this year. But Vera Wong is basically this elderly Chinese lady who lives in San Francisco's Chinatown in her tea shop, above her tea shop. And basically one morning she finds a dead body in a tea shop, and she takes it upon herself to solve the mystery. And if you've read anything else by this author, you know that there's this like lovely cultural narrative, but her characters are so lovable. Vera Wong is this like cranky old lady, and she's absolutely hilarious, and she is such a little powerhouse, and her outlook on life and the way that she moves in the world, it's just amazing. It was so endearing to read more about her, and it's very, very, very fast paced, keeps you interested like the whole time. It's got a lovely mystery element, but it's also such a feel-good book. And the next book that was the biggest surprise for me was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Now, I had been seeing this book everywhere. Everyone has been talking about it, but I did not pick it up because I was mistaken. I thought this was YA, but it's not YA. It's adult literary fiction with a romance subplot. But I got this on my Kobo on sale one day, and I decided to just read it, and I loved it so much that I got a physical copy that I'm going to reread. But Gosh, everything that you've heard about this book, all the praise that you've heard about this book is totally valid. This was 100% amazing. This basically follows a story of two friends, Sam and Sadie. Starts off in the 90s and it follows them over the course of their lives and how they navigate loving each other or being in love with each other without necessarily loving each other, and how they basically come together to start making video games. And it spans their whole like relationship through that. And I don't want to say more because I think the less you know about this, the better it's going to be for you. But this was a gut-wrenching book, but incredibly amazing. All right, favorite new author. My favorite new author, I think this year, is definitely Jessie Q. Sutanto. I've read 3 books by her this year, and at this point, anything that she writes, I'm going to pick it up because I haven't been disappointed by her yet, and I really like her storytelling. Newest fictional crush. I don't really have any fictional crushes, if I'm being honest, but I will, for this question, I will share with you a romance book that I've really enjoyed recently, and that is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This is the second one to The Love Hypothesis, which I've also read, which I enjoyed, but it wasn't that great. But this one was definitely significantly better than the first one. If you haven't heard of these before, Ali Hazelwood is a neuroscientist who writes romance books about women in STEM. And what I really loved about this book was that you don't get like any romance for like half of the book. So it's very, the story is incredible. Romance is just a subplot. Second half, it's more at the forefront of the story, but you basically follow this character, B, who's a neuroscientist at NASA, and what it's like for her to land a dream project at NASA with her arch nemesis for quite some time. So I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the detail to the world of academia and NASA was so lovely. It was just like a really great book to read, and I would say that this is one like romance that I really enjoyed this year. Newest favorite character. As of right now, this could change, but as of right now, my favorite character this year has gotta be Vera Wong. Like I said, she's absolutely hilarious. I really loved her personality. I loved the fact that she was so witty and she was such a powerhouse, and I really like related to her, so I really enjoyed Vera. Next up, we have a book that made you cry, and unfortunately I'm gonna bring back Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow for this again because I was a wreck in this book. For those of you who have read this, I'm not gonna, obviously no spoilers, but for those of you who have read this, you know that towards in the 3/4 into the book, there's something that happens, and I did not expect that at all. And it took me some time to make sense of that, and I was absolutely heartbroken about this. I don't usually cry in books. I will tear up, but this had me sobbing. And I still give it 5 stars. So this was definitely the saddest one this year. And the opposite of that is a book that made you happy. And I'm just gonna bring back Love on the Brain again for this. This book just genuinely made me really happy. There were some issues with it too, and I am making another video on red flags in romance novels, and this definitely had some. But if we overlook those, this definitely made me really happy. Just the characters and the story, I loved it. Favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year? So I haven't seen many adaptations this year yet. However, I am looking forward to the adaptation of The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. I believe last year or 2 years ago, Netflix bought the rights to this, and it has, it's a TV show starring Frida Pinto, the girl from Slumdog Millionaire. And I'm really looking forward to that. I believe, hopefully it's coming out this year, and I'm certainly going to watch it. This is one of my favorite series of all time. I absolutely love it. If you haven't heard of it, Yet Henna Artist is basically about, it's set in 1950s India, so pre-independence, or sorry, 1950s India, just post-independence India, and it follows the story of Lakshmi, who is a 17-year-old girl who leaves an abusive marriage and runs away to the city of Jaipur, called the Pink City, which is also city of royals, and she finds herself making a business and a life and a home for herself as a henna artist for the upper class and the royal ladies of the city. So there's a lot of rich people drama. There's a lot of like strong female protagonists trying to find her way in the world. There's lovely cultural commentary. There's some romance, lots of family drama. So it has something for everyone. Favorite review you have written this year, or favorite video you have done so far this year? I'll definitely offer up 2 videos, and they will be linked above here at this time as well in the description box down below. But I filmed a video very recently which is called South Asian Stories for Everyone, and there's 5 South Asian stories that I think are universally enjoyable, and I had a lot of fun making that video, and I'm hoping to make more similar videos with not just South Asian reads, but more overall inclusive reads and BIPOC reads. And another video that I made, it was actually my very first video on YouTube, which is one of my favorites, is 5 books every South Asian feminist must read. And I still stand by that. I think the books that I chose for that video were really on point. And I do think that every feminist needs to acquaint themselves with those stories. All right, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. I have 2 contenders for this, actually one more than the other, but I have The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I thought the story was okay. I gave it 3 stars, but I absolutely loved the cover. I thought it was so minimalistic and so fun. And I also actually really enjoy Happy Place by Emily Henry. I just love the bright pink, and I really enjoyed the story as well. I believe I gave it 4 stars, but I really enjoyed the pink. I enjoyed the artwork. I enjoyed just like how this book like screams summer. So these were my top 2. All right, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I'm sure this list is going to grow as I come across more books, but as of right now, here are some of the books on my list. First up, I've got The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. This is, I believe, a debut author, and I don't know too much about this, but this sounds really fun. It's essentially about this woman named Nikita who like loses her husband, but people think she killed him. So more women are asking for her expertise in disposing their husbands, and sounds absolutely hilarious. It is set in India, so I'm looking forward to like the good cultural commentary. It's only 300 pages, so it's not that big. It's just like really big text and really big pages, so I'm looking forward to this. Up next, I have Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This is one that was recommended to me. I believe it just showed up as a recommendation on Goodreads or something because I really enjoyed Eudora Honeysett, and I think I would really like this as well. This seems to be like, you know, one of those more like deeper, like philosophical feel-good movies, feel-good books, but essentially about this older woman and this like friendship or relationship that she forms with an octopus, with this octopus who's also like one of the points of view in the novel. So again, it sounds kind of odd, but essentially I'm imagining this is more like a story around purpose and meaning and connection. I'm also hoping to read the next 2 books in the Pride and Premeditation a series by Tirzah Price. This is a YA thriller retelling of all the Jane Austens. So the first one is called Pride and Premeditation. The next one is Sense and Second Degree Murder. And the third one is Manslaughter Park. So I really enjoyed this first one. It's just a nice Jane Austen murder mystery. It's YA, so it's quick to read. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm picking up the other 2 in this as well as they come out this year. I'm also hoping to finish rereading the ACOTAR series. Right now I'm on book 2, A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm almost through it. But I read ACOTAR like 6 years ago? So 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, when nobody knew about it, and I'm rereading them just to see if I still enjoy them as much. And the first one, Court of Thorns and Roses, I definitely enjoy it as much as I did the first time, and I'm loving this one as well. I'm also including a lot more Indigenous reads, and especially Canadian Indigenous authors, in my TBR for the rest of the year. So the one that I'm currently reading is Five Little Indians by Michelle Good, and I'm hoping to incorporate, obviously finish this, but incorporate a lot more Indigenous reads before the end of the year. And another book that I actually want to read is one that I've had forever, and it's called Young Jane Young by Gabrielle Zevin, because I enjoyed Tomorrow so much. I want to read other works by this author as well. All right, everyone, that's it. Those are my thoughts on this mid-year freakout book tag that's going around. I hope you found some new recommendations from this. Up next, feel free to check out the 2 videos that I talked about earlier, which is 5 South Asian stories for everyone that are universally lovable, as well as 5 books every South Asian feminist must read. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.